Hello, damsels and knights, and welcome back to the Late History Show. I'm your host, Godwin, and this is the second episode of the show, where we talk about history with the ones who made it. In the first episode, we had the honor to have on the show Charlemagne, one of the two founders of the Holy Roman Empire. The second one is our guest for tonight. A big applause for Otto the Great.
Hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for accepting the invitation. First of all, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. My wife Adelaide and I just finished a dinner in the afterlife with Justinianus and Theodora.
That sounds like an interesting dinner, but let's speak about the reason why you are here. In the previous episode, with Charlemagne, we spoke about the fact that people remember only him as the founder of the Holy Roman Empire. He agreed with me that you deserve more recognition among the general public. I mean, you are the de facto founder of the Holy Roman Empire, but most of the people barely know about you. Do you feel like that?
Charlemagne always has some kind words for my person. He is one of my best friends in the afterlife. About your question, yes, I feel like I should get the recognition that I deserve. I don't pretend to be famous as Charlemagne, but at least when the general media talks about the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire, I would be happy if they mention me, at least as co-founder.
You know, if I had to make a list of the most underrated historical figures, you would be there for sure. So, let's use this show to tell a little of your story to our audience. I want to do it by breaking down with you some of your most important moments of your life. But before that, would you say some words to present yourself to our public?
Sure, let's keep it simple. I was king of East Francia, also called Germany, from 936 until 973. I strengthened and expanded my kingdom and defended it from the raids of the Hungarians. In 962, I was crowned emperor of the Romans in Rome. This event is marked by historians as the, de facto, foundation of the Holy Roman Empire. Also, during my reign, the Ottonian Renaissance began, a cultural revival in art, architecture, and literature.
Thanks. Now let's begin with our first moment to break down. Roll the picture. Aachen Cathedral, August 936. You were crowned on the same throne used by Charlemagne. I imagine that the expectations and pressure were high when you were crowned on such important throne.
Well, yes, there is a certain amount of pressure when you are crowned on the same throne as Charlemagne. Since the beginning, I wanted to create a powerful and united German kingdom, with a king who exercised real power over all the nobles and clergy. And that wasn't easy. You see, my kingdom was formed by various regions that were ruled by dukes who didn't really like the idea of being under a king who ruled over them. So, in the early years of my reign, I had to put down some rebellions to secure my power. Even some members of my family were against me, but after a few years, I finally ruled as a true king. Perhaps I was a little authoritarian, if we want to use a more modern term. But that was necessary to turn our kingdom into a powerhouse of Europe. Also, I would like to mention and thank my father, Henry the Fowler. My successful reign was built upon his work as a king.
Fortunately for the kingdom, you consolidated your power at the right time. Because now the problems will not come from the inside, but from the outside. Time to talk about the Battle of Lechfeld.
One of the things I am most proud of. But let's give a little context first. The Hungarians, or Magyars, were this nomadic tribes that from their base in Pannonia launched many violent raids all over Europe from the middle of the 9th century. When I say all over Europe, I really mean all over. Their incursions reached as far as northern Spain and Greece. My father and I fought them many times, and I was determined to stop their invasions of my lands, once and for all. The opportunity came in the year 955, when a massive Magyar army besieged the city of Augsburg. I rushed to the city's aid, and even if we were outnumbered, we defeated the Magyars in a furious battle. I didn't know it at the time, but on that day, with the help of the mighty God, I finally stopped the Magyar invasions in my kingdom.
It's ironic how the Hungarians went from being a threat to Europe to defending it during the Mongol invasion.
Yeah, sometimes history is ironic.
Since we are speaking of wars, you also made some important conquests, right?
Yes, I made some conquests in the north of Germany and in what is now Austria and Slovenia, But my most important conquest was the Kingdom of Italy. Or I should say conquests, because I had to invade Italy 2 times to finally took it under my control. In 951, Berengarius II, King of Italy, wanted to marry his son, Adalbert, to Adelaide, the widow of the former King of Italy, but she wasn't of the same idea. So Berengarius turned to force, besieging her, while she was in Canossa. She asked for my help, in exchange for a marriage and the Italian kingdom. So I invaded Italy, defeated Berengarius, married her, and the Italian kingdom became a tributary state of my empire. Adelaide was the most important conquest of my life. She turned out to be a capable and smart woman that helped me ruling my empire. We still love each other in the afterlife, despite all the centuries that went by.
That's nice. I'm happy for you. So, now we arrived at the third and final moment of your story, the day you became Emperor of the Romans. But before you talk about that, I want to dedicate some time to a man related to this topic, Pope Johannes XII. Roll the video.
Johannes XII is only mentioned in the general media, when they talk about Otto's coronation, and that's all. But his story is worth exploring, because he wasn't just a random pope. Octavianus from the Counts of Tusculum was born in a powerful Roman noble family that had an important influence in the city. His ecclesiastical career began around the year 954, as Cardinal Deacon of Santa Maria in Dominica, a beautiful basilica in the heart of Rome. But a year later, in December 955, he was already elected pope. Seems quite normal, right? Well, you see, he was only 20 years old when he became pope, and he was brought up in a noble family where he lived like a prince. A depraved prince, who devoted his time to sexual pleasures, hunting, heavy drinking, and other things that are not very related to a man who should be the heir of St. Peter. It must be remembered that the pope held both temporal and secular power over his domains, and this duality was perfectly seen in the papacy of Pope Johannes. In relation to secular matters, the new pope issued his directives under the name of Octavianus, while in all matters relating to the church he issued papal bulls under his pontifical name of Johannes. But this separation was only on paper. He lived like a wicked prince, transforming the home of the papacy at that time, the Lateran Palace, into the immoral home of depravity and corruption. His office was turning into a brothel, while enjoying the pleasures of adultery, heavy drinking and gaming. Also, he once marched at the head of his army to invade his southern territories. Imagine St. Peter seeing one of his successors leading an army in full armor. Incredibly, this wasn't the last time a pope went in battle with his army. Pope Julius II also led his army in armor, during the siege of Mirandola. No wonder why this event, combined with his personality, got him the nickname, the Warrior Pope. Returning to our rock star pope, here are some of the accusations made against Octavianus, during the Synod of Rome in 963. Just to understand the situation. He invoked Jupiter, Venus and other demons while playing at dice. He ordained a deacon in a horse stable and he had been paid for ordaining bishops. Also various accusations of adultery and even the killing of 2 people. No wonder why he is considered one of the worst popes in history. His death is perfectly in line with his life. He was thrown out from a window by an angry husband while he was committing another act of adultery outside of Rome. Or he died of apoplexy. I prefer the first one, if I had to choose. So, in conclusion, one of the best Holy Roman emperors was crowned by one of the worst popes ever. How ironic. Now back to the show.
Now that we have the context of the situation in Rome, we can talk about the reasons for your coronation.
It's very simple. In 961, Berengarius, who I left in charge of the Kingdom of Italy, marched on Rome and the Pope asked for my help to stop him. So I crossed the Alps, defeated Berengarius, took from him the title of king, united Germany and the Italian kingdom under one king. And then I arrived in Rome where the Pope, in exchange, crowned me and my wife, emperors of the Romans. On that day, a real state called Holy Roman Empire started his journey into history.
This sounds similar to that time Pope Adrian called Charlemagne for help against the Lombards.
Well, history does not repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. We also made some agreements. I confirmed the legal legitimacy of the Papal States and give them the right to rule some additional territories in central Italy. I also granted the clergy and people of Rome the exclusive right to elect the Pope, but the Pope-elect had to swear an oath of allegiance to the Emperor before being confirmed. With this agreement, the Emperor now had power over the Pope, as it should be.
And then what happened?
The freaking chaos. Pope Johannes was afraid of my rising power, and he tried to form a coalition against me. So I deposed him and elected a new pope, Leo VIII, and returned home. But during my absence, Johannes returned to his position as pope, but he died shortly afterwards, and a new pope was elected, Benedictus V. I had to return to Rome and restore Leo VIII to his position, but a year later he died. The people of Rome overthrew the newly elected pope, Johannes XIII, and I had to return to Rome again. Since I was tired of traveling back and forth from Rome to Germany, I decided to remain in town for some years to stabilize the situation. During that time, I arranged an important marriage for my son and successor, Otto II, with the niece of the Eastern Roman Emperor Johannes I, Theophanu. Finally, after all those stressing years, in 972 I returned home and died a year later, in the town of Membelin.
I can imagine how stressful can be ruling that city full of chaos that was, and still is, Rome. Before we finish, I want to make you a last question. How do you judge your work as an emperor overall? Because many people believe that you were among the best Holy Roman emperors ever lived. Do you feel you are one of the best?
I think I did what I had to do to transform my kingdom into a powerful empire. My work speaks for me. I believe that I was the best emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, at least for the Middle Ages. I mean, I created the whole thing.
And with this statement, we arrived at the end. I hope you enjoyed your time on the show.
Yeah, I had a good time. I hope our public was entertained and learned something new.
I hope so. A big applause for Otto the Great. Thanks for watching, damsels and knights. See you next time. If you want to know more about Otto's story, you will find in the description the videos from HISTORYMARCHE and Empire Builders on this topic.